Magnus freaking Carlsen, what do you do right here on move 9 versus your longtime rival Hikaru Nakamura in the 2011 Wijk An Zee tournament? I'll tell you what he does. Magnus here, he busts out the genius idea of 9g4, launching the attack on the king side. The threat now is g5, then h4, h5, and finally g6, blowing open the king side. I mean, some guys say Magnus is the best endgame player of all time, but Magnus freaking Carlsen, in this position, it is only move 9. And what do you bust out versus Hikaru, your longtime rival in the 2011 Wijk An Zee tournament? I'll tell you what he does. Magnus here, he throws caution to the wind and busts out the genius idea of 9g4, attacking on the king side immediately. The threat now is g5, knocking back this knight, then h4, h5, and finally g6, blowing open the king side. I mean, some say Magnus is the best endgame player of all time, but in this game, he's trying to put Hikaru to sleep as early as move 9, going all out for the attack. Trust me, you don't want to miss the insane back and forth ending to this incredible game. Alright, in the game here, Magnus playing as white, opens 1e4 and black 1c5, the Sicilian defense. Then we have knight f3, d6, and then d4, the open Sicilian, and then finally c takes, knight f6, knight c3, and finally the key move here in this line for black, a6, the dreaded Najdorf Sicilian. And this is one of the oldest, richest, and most complicated openings in all of chess. White here has so many ideas, including bishop to e2 or d3 or c4, bishop g5, e3, even d2, f3, g3, h3, f4, even rook g1, taking g4. I mean, everything here for white is basically playable on move 6. But in this game, Magnus plays the quiet line, the classical variation, bishop e2. Now, this right here is a favor to Karpov and many endgame experts, and the idea is white here simply wants to castle and get a decent playable middle game. Now, black goes e5, the standard idea here in this line for black. e5 is the move, knocking back this knight on d4. Magnus, knight b3, bishop e7, and now bishop e3. Okay, interesting. Black here, what should black do? Well, the main move here, according to theory, is simply bishop e6, mirroring white's bishops. However, in this game, Hikaru here, he does not play that. He must know that is the move, but instead, Hikaru plays the move short castles. Hikaru is poking the Norwegian bear. Does he know what he is doing right here? Does he know Magnus has 9g4 locked and ready to go in this game? Magnus, without missing a beat, 9g4, the key idea in this line. Of course, if black had not castled, if black went instead, say, bishop to e6 right here, then g4 is not nearly as strong. But in this position, with the king castled, 9g4 is simply, I mean, not deadly, but it is very, very dangerous and very, very strong. And by far, the strongest move here. And here's the problem. Let's say black goes like h6, guarding g5, a logical idea. Well, then h4 comes, threatening g5 all the same, and white's attack continues. Keep in mind, white here has two pieces defending g4, the bishop and the queen, versus the two attackers. Therefore, the pawn cannot be taken right now on g4, and black is in for a world of pain. In the game, Hikaru, bishop e6 is the move, a logical idea. The point being, if white goes g5, the knight can now go to d7 behind the bishop, not blocking in that piece on c8. So, a decent idea. Magnus here, he's not slowing down. g5 is the move, knocks back that knight, and now, of course, g4 and h5 are off limits. Therefore, d7 is really the only decent square here. e8 is just way too passive. So, knight d7 played in the game by Hikaru. Now, here, Magnus, g5. It's under attack by two pieces. Magnus here plays the very simple idea of h4 guarding that pawn. This guy knows his CCTOs, checks, captures, threats, and optimizations. Now, Hikaru, his pieces here, his knights are sort of bunched up here. He's got to find some way to develop and, of course, get the attack going on the queen side, as that is likely where the white king is going to go in the very near future. Now, normally b5 is the idea, but instead, Hikaru here plays the move knight b6, blocking the b pawn with the knight. What is the idea? Perhaps knight c4 immediately, pressuring e3 and d2 if the queen were to go there. That might be the idea. Now, Magnus here, he jumps into the potential attack with the move queen d2, not fearing knight c4, as after all, This is really the only logical square for the queen right now in the game. Now, Hikaru, knight 8d7 is the move. And Magnus here has many options. He can castle long, he can go f4, he can go h5, intending g6 is now, of course, g5 is supported by the bishop and the queen. Therefore, h5 is now possible. But instead, in the game, f4 is the move, a very typical attacking idea, threatening f5, maybe even f6, and black here is almost forced to respond. For example, if rook c8, then bang, f5 is super, super strong. Hikaru here, he cannot allow that, so instead, he captures on f4. We have e takes, bishop takes, and the one benefit of this move, it does free up e5 for this knight like this, knight to e5. So black jumps in with his knight, knight e5 immediately, white castles, and black rook to c8, pressuring c4 with the knights, the bishop, the rook, and so on. Sooner or later, black clearly is going to jump some piece into the c4 square. That is sort of his idea right here. Now, Magnus, he's in no rush. He's got a fantastic game, and he simply plays the idea of king to b1, sliding his king off the soon-to-be, potentially open c-file. Now, black, queen c7, the standard square for the queen in most of these Najdorf lines for black. And finally, Magnus, he's had enough. He's got all the preparatory moves done, and he finally plays the big idea, h5, threatening g6. This is the genius strategy we've all been waiting for. All right, Hikaru, how do you want to respond? I mean, Magnus here, wasting no time, 9g4, following it up with the pawn advance, g5, h4, h5, and so on. How do you want to stop these pawns from rolling down into the kingside like battering rams? Well, black here has many ideas, the strongest perhaps being knight b to c4, jumping in with that knight. But instead, Hikaru, the move is rook to e8. Okay, this move may seem kind of strange. What is the idea behind this in the Najdorf? Well, it's a multi-purpose idea. First of all, the rook sliding over to e8 frees up f8 for the dark squared bishop. For example, at some point, bishop f8 may be a requirement. And beyond that, if black were to go, say, g6 at some point, then g7 is freed for the bishop. Beyond that, the e-file may be opening up pretty soon, and the rook actually would be decently placed there on the e8 square. Now, Magnus here plays also sort of a weird, quiet waiting move, king to a1, sliding over one more square with the king, which, to be honest, to me, looks a little bit strange. I'm kind of worried about, like, back rank mating ideas now, but Magnus here, being the GOAT, he must know what he's doing. Now, Hikaru, bishop f8, the logical follow-up. The bishop slides back to the f8 square, guards g7, and sort of frees up the rook on the e-file a little bit. Now, Magnus, how does he continue the attack? Well, he knows in the attack, you must bring all of your pieces into the attack, and he plays the very simple developing idea of knight d4, jumping in with that knight, pressuring e6, and this piece finally becomes a decent attacking piece in this game. Now, Hikaru, again, he has many ideas, perhaps knight e to c4 or knight b to c4, but no, in the game, queen to c5 is the move, pressuring d4 and so on with the queen. And now, Magnus, this guy is done messing around. He finally uncorks the big idea, the big idea. That is the move g6. Magnus going all out for the attack, and it turns out this is a very standard attacking idea in many open Sicilian lines for white. So if you like aggressive attacking chess, tactical chess, all-out attacks, this is certainly one idea you can bust out in your own games. Now, this move is just so dangerous. For example, taking with the f-pawn or the h-pawn right here is actually almost suicide for black. For example, if black takes with, say, the h-pawn, h takes, the problem with that is after h takes, then say f takes, knight takes e6 is almost game over on the spot. White's attack is simply too strong. And likewise, if black takes with the f-pawn here, f takes, it also leads to disaster very fast. For example, h takes, knight captures e6, and white's attack once again with black not having a light squared bishop. I mean, look at this diagonal, these files all lining up with the black king. This is just not a good scenario for black, to say the least. Instead, Hikaru in the game plays the move knight e to c4. Okay, a much better response. Magnus is queen on d2. It's under attack. Again, he knows his CCTOs, or the attack and develop system I teach my students. So the queen on d2 is under attack, and he simply trades on c4. We have bishop takes, then knight takes, and then queen d3, again sliding out of the way of the attack on the queen. Black takes on g6, f takes, h takes, and now h6. So this right here is the defensive setup that black is trying to achieve in this game. But trust me, this pawn on h6, it is not long for this world. There are simply too many white pieces lining up with it right now, meaning at some point, sooner or later, Magnus the GOAT is going to have some sort of insane sacrifice on h6. You better believe it. All right, from here, Magnus, what do you want to do? How do you want to continue the attack? Well, he has many options. Capturing on e6, for example, is one option, but instead, he maintains the tension, as he almost always does in these games, and plays the move queen to g3, sliding over with the queen, lining up the queen with the king on the g-file, pressuring d6, a solid multi-purpose idea, and of course, opening up the attack of the rook on d6 indirectly as well. So, Magnus finding just a good square for his queen in general, where it does pressure many different points in the black camp. Now, Hikaru here, queen b6. This move threatens checkmate in literally one move. Queen takes b2, if he had an extra move in this game, would be checkmate on the spot. Absolutely insane stuff. Magnus, bishop c1. He slides back, defends b2. He's not getting made into one move. Oh no, don't worry. And Hikaru, queen to a5, sliding over, and actually also sort of threatening mates in potentially a few moves. For example, maybe knight takes b2, rook takes c3, and then queen takes a2 could be the idea in some sort of fantasy scenario. Now, Magnus, what is the move? The move is rook d to f1. He slides over. He knows for right now there is no game-ending attack. It looks scary, but, you know, this idea, it doesn't quite work out yet in the game. Now, black, knight e5 is the move, dropping back. But Magnus here, he's not done. He's not slowing down. Oh no, knight d5. He jumps in, threatening various ideas like knight e7, knight f6, and so on, and things are getting very, very dangerous for black. Hikaru, he takes on d5. We have bishop takes, and then e takes, and here, this pawn on d5 is hanging right now. The big question is, should black win that pawn? Is it a hanging pawn, or is it a poison pawn? And if black were to capture it, what would happen right there? That is the big question. If you like puzzles, pause the video right now and try to figure out what the heck the problem with that move is, if there is a problem. And Hikaru, unfortunately for him, in this game, he did not sense the danger. He takes on d5 with the queen. Queen takes, but this is a massive tactical mistake. It's too slow. And here, Magnus, because there's no pressure on a2 or anywhere else on the queen side here, he plays the diabolical idea of bishop takes h6, blowing open the king side, and now the king hunt has begun. Of course, black here, he must take on h6. If he doesn't, then, for example, with the open h-file, I mean, black's king would be mated in short order. For example, rook h8, king takes, queen h3, king g8, queen h7, and that would be mate under some scenario. So black here, he pretty much has to capture the bishop, but that opens even more lines of attack. Black, g takes, Magnus, g7, the strongest move. What is the idea? It's simple. If black takes with the bishop, then knight to f5, hits the bishop, overloads the piece, and after, say, rook f to g1, I mean, the bishop is as good as gone, and white would win with the attack. Hikaru, he sees this. Instead, bishop e7 is the move, sliding over. Now, here, we have rook takes, winning the free pawn, knight f7, and here, of course, the rook on h6 is under attack. Hikaru lining up a very solid threat, but Magnus demonstrating sagacity here, demonstrating his experience, his wisdom, his oversized chess brain. He plays the move queen g6, ignoring the threat on the rook. What is the idea? If you take the rook, as Hikaru did in this game, we have knight takes. The problem is simple. Queen takes, and look at this. Queen to h8 would be mate on the next move. The pawn has now become an attacking piece in this game. The g-pawn on move 9, going to g4, completing the journey to g7, where it is helping with the mating attack. Black, bishop f6 is the idea. The point being now, queen to h8 is met by king to f7, and the black king does live. But Magnus, again, he's not slowing down. Queen to h8 is the move. Hits the king. King to f7. Now, g8 promotes to a queen, and here is the kicker. We have the discovered attack on the bishop by the other queen, and of course, that piece is going to fall. We have rook takes, queen takes, king to e8, and here, the final move of the game, simply rook to e1 check, and in this position, Hikaru, he simply resigns on the spot to Magnus, and here's why. Black here has effectively one move here, king to d7. I mean, you can block with the queen, but that is just suicide. Instead, king d7 would be met by, of course, queen to e7, and that is checkmate on the spot. And therefore, for that reason, right here in this position, after rook e1, Hikaru being mated in effectively one move here, he resigns on the spot to Magnus Carlsen. Wow, what a game here between Magnus and Hikaru in the 2011 Wijk An Zee tournament. Magnus here on move 9, busting out the absolutely insane idea of 9g4, launching the attack and holding nothing back in this game. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please show me some love. Smash that like button, comment down below what you thought of the game and whatnot. And as always, if you want to learn directly from me, a 2000 ELO online player, I've helped so many students make screaming fast progress and skyrocket their ELO in less than a month. If you want insane results, go to drmikechess.com. It's my free online course / coaching program / community. You have everything you need there to improve your online chess. Again, drmikechess.com. Also down below in the pinned comment and the description of this video. So I will see you there, free to join. And by the way, guys, today on October 1st, we're launching a new 30-day chess challenge in my free online chess community. If you want to win some insane prizes like free private lessons from me, free access to my new premium coaching offer, and so on, we have 9 different winners in this competition. There are 3 ways you can win. It's all in my free community. Go to drmikechess.com. It's my free online chess community / course / coaching program. It's very hard to miss the pinned comment there for the new 30-day chess challenge. Everyone there is invited to join and compete. It's really cool. So if you want to win some insane prizes, go to drmikechess.com. Also down below in the pinned comment and the description. I will see you there, and as always, I wish you the best of luck in your chess improvement journey in 2025 and beyond, and I'll see you in the next video.